Greetings, benefit spongers and other people on Monday. I'll keep this short and sweet. I know I say that every time, and every time I say I'll keep it short, it always isn't. But I'm going to keep it actually short this time because I've actually got loads of stuff to do. I'm actually away for 10 days, which doesn't seem like a long time, but it kind of is. So I'm packing up to go to the States, which is going to be cool. I'm mostly out there with Shut Up and Sit Down. We're covering Gen Con, which is the world's biggest board gaming convention, which should be fascinating and quite exciting. But I'm also taking a few days before that just to sort of chill out a bit and spend some time with my girlfriend in the States. Why not? Which is going to be lovely. So I've got to go and pack, and it means I've got to disappear. And it does mean that because I didn't have any ongoing series stuff at the moment, there won't be any videos for like 2 weeks. And I was going through all sorts of stuff, and I was like, oh, maybe I could like buy a laptop. Maybe I could buy an editing laptop so I could do that. And it's like, I can't remember who it was, but somebody just went, or you could just have a holiday like a normal person. It's like, yeah, I probably should do that rather than spending thousands of pounds so I can work during my holiday. Yeah. So, yeah, going to take a few days off. It should be good. But I thought I'd just put this up because I didn't do an update video last week. Just do a quick one before I go, just so it's not complete, like, radio silence. Yeah, to be honest, it's been a struggle for the past few weeks. And actually, there was a thread about it on Reddit, on the subreddit thing we've got going, which is awesome. Really happy with the subreddit. It's really nice. It's good to see people just chatting about stuff and having a space where they can talk about things. Very cool. And a few people did actually point out a thing. They were like, oh, I'm not really happy with the Patreon so far. And that's cool. And actually, it's nice to have people being able to have a centralized place where they can talk about that. And I obviously joined in and had this conversation. And I'd recommend if you were interested in it, go and have a look, go and have a read. And I did reply to a lot of the thoughts and stuff. I think a lot of what it boils down to is stuff I've actually talked about in these videos in the past, and the fact that it's like, I can't please everyone. And lots of people, when they see my work, they see it for different things. Some people just want the funny stuff, and they get annoyed when it's not funny and when I'm trying to make a serious point, because in their minds it's a guy who's an entertainer who's just like, oh, stop it, you're supposed to be funny, like, stop being serious, what are you doing? Whereas other people enjoy it when I'm being funny and doing silly stuff, but mainly also a lot of the reason they fund me is because they want me to talk about serious issues and they want me to do that stuff. And I'm very aware of that, and I do try and draw a balance and try and make sure I don't spend all of my time talking about serious issues and I don't spend all of my time making silly videos because, different people like different things. And also, I don't really want to be any one thing in particular, really. I don't want to I like to mix it up, and it's kind of good. But it is a point of the fact that sometimes people go, it feels like we haven't had anything that I really, really like for about a month. And it's like, well, yeah, but thing is, the month before that, maybe there was loads of stuff you really liked, and other people were sitting in the same position going, he hasn't done any sort of videos I really like this month. So it does flow. But all I'd say, as I say in the past, and I don't say this in a dismissive way, and I don't say this in a way as if to be like, fuck you, but if you're not happy, then do just stop patronising me, because that's like all I can really offer. It is going to be erratic, when I'm in different sort of mental states, I'm going to be making different sorts of things. Sometimes I'm making more serious stuff. Sometimes I'm going to be making more fun stuff. It is going to vary. But if overall you're not happy with it, I'd really recommend stopping, because I'd rather what you do is just that you stop it, and then if in the future I start doing stuff again that you like again, then feel free to resub, because otherwise, it's sort of a form of madness I'm just going to get stuck into, because if I feel like people are saying, not really happy with this, can you make it more like this? Then it's like, if I start chasing after that, and this was the thing I noticed from this thread, is it's like everyone, what was interesting is a few people seem to be kind of in agreement, saying, yeah, I agree with you. And then you look at what they're saying, it's like, no, you guys don't actually agree. Like, what you agree on is that I'm not doing 100% what you would like me to, but the things you want are actually quite different. So you see the problem there. So yeah, there's not really a lot I can do about that. The one thing I would say though, actually, is something I've not been happy with lately, is my output, is the amount of quantity of stuff I've been doing. And that's partly because we had a shift in gear, right? I started moving away from doing all of the series-based stuff because I wanted to invest a bit more time into one-off pieces, because I had a lot of feedback from people saying they wanted to see that. And a lot of people saying, oh, I really like the stuff like the Last of Us video you did, and I really like the Bioshock Infinite video. Let's see more of that stuff. And to be honest, I hadn't done any of that stuff, really. So I have been thinking, yeah, that's a good point. So I've done that. I did a big video for Dark Souls 2. I did a big video for Divinity, both of which took a long time because they're big RPGs, they're big like, And I'm hoping that I'm actually going to be able to get into the habit of playing more games and making videos about games I've played on a more frequent basis soon, just by playing smaller things and being a bit more experimental with it. But I have had an unfortunate combo of being super busy with shut up and sit down stuff. We were doing all of the Gold Club 3 bag stuff, and that took up a lot of my time. And it was basically a case of I was doing a lot of design work, a lot of admin work, a lot of phone calls, and organizing all the stuff so we can ship these things out all over the world. And it was fine. I was sort of like, it's one of those things where occasionally I do have to juggle my responsibilities. And it was one of those things where I was like, I'm spending too much time on shut up and sit down. But it's fine because, and this is where it went wrong, because I was like, well, look, I'll be done. And then I can spend loads of time doing loads of stuff for the channel. And before I leave to go to America, I can have like loads of videos done. I'll just 100% focus on that. And that was the plan. And then I got really ill. And I feel so much better now, but man, it wiped me out. I won't go into gory details, but I lost a lot of body fluids for quite a long time and spent a good week just drinking litres of water every day. And during that time, I did actually manage to get a lot of stuff done. I set up the subreddit. I did a lot of scripting. I played games a little bit, but even I felt a bit too weak to play games. That's pathetic. But yeah, because of that, like, I wasn't able to do any voiceover or recording because it's like, it's just, you can't. You need the energy, and you just don't have the energy. So I feel genuinely quite guilty about that because I haven't really done a huge amount of work this month on the YouTube channel because of that. And I'm now away for 10 days, which means nothing else is going to be coming up. So yeah, if you're looking at it and you're kind of like this is a bit sparse, then this is a genuine apology for that. It's not ideal by any means. But when I come back, I'm looking forward to coming back feeling a bit refreshed, hopefully, and really hitting some stuff hard, getting some more stuff done. It should be good. It should be good. Yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it. And I've got lots of things I'm working on. I've run out of games to play, but that's fine because it means I've done my Divinity thing. I'm playing a bit of Curse of the Necrodancer, which is a very kind of small, fun roguelike with rhythm action. I'm going to make a little video about that. That shouldn't take me long. When I get back, I'm going to try and hit the ground running and do a bunch of stuff and get back into it big time because I'm excited about it. And I'm actually really gutted that I've just run out of time because there are only so many hours in the day. And funny enough, being fucked up by illnesses just really, really screws that up. Anyway, that's about it. I'm just going to answer some questions now. That's not about it. There's one last thing actually, is one of the things that was suggested was that, and I think the thing is when I started doing these weekly update videos, I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to be doing on the channel. And I thought I was going to be having a lot more kind of regular series stuff. And I thought I was going to be, to be honest, I thought I'd have a lot more time, and I didn't realize that actually the time it takes me to make these videos is actually more than I thought it would be because I'm putting more care into them. And even like the Divinity video, for example, took me about, I mean, if I don't include the time I spent actually playing the game, it probably took about 3 full days to make that video. And that's 3 full days of working pretty full on just to capture all the footage I needed, to get the script right. Yeah, and so these things, yeah, it adds up. You know, it does add up. And actually, the thing that's easy to do are the opinion stuff. But I don't want to become an opinion person. I don't want to be 100% just talking about industry stuff and getting angry about stuff because, I don't know, there's a lot of people who do that. And I kind of feel like I don't want to be known as that. I don't want to be known as like Matt, that guy who's angry about stuff. It's difficult. But anyway, one thing people were suggesting is people were saying it kind of feels a bit dumb having so many update videos, especially if it's like, if I am at the moment just doing one big video every week, having 50% of my content being these videos with some people. And this is difficult because it's like, you know, it's very much a case of some people being vocal about things and other people not being vocal. But some people, and I can kind of see where they're coming, might be like, well, I'm kind of tired of watching these. I actually prefer it if you spent more time making actual videos. So we've got options with that. The options would either be that somebody suggested that maybe we could just make them shorter and actually make them little tiny brief updates. I'm terrible at doing that. Or to make them less frequent. Like maybe once every 2 weeks or once every month to have a mega update thing. I don't know. Maybe that could work if it was a mega update with me going through the questions in advance and curating things a bit more and making sure it was good. I don't know. Because I don't want these to feel self-indulgent. And actually one person said it felt like these videos were being used to kind of fluff out the fact that there wasn't actually that much other content on the channel. And I really don't want it to feel like that. I'm just aware that what I'm doing at the moment is different, and it is difficult because it comes up against what people expect from YouTube, right? So, you know, because the YouTube way is to have, you know, people producing videos every day and having quite light touch editing jobs and very easy things just uploading, because that content is so much. Even though people in theory are cool with the idea of me being like, hey, just spend as much time as you want, just make one video a week. If it's one good video a week, that's fine. In practice, a lot of people are still a bit funny about that, and they just sort of think, no, you're not doing a lot of stuff. And it's like, I am. It's just, it's different. So yeah, we'll work it out. But I do think I am going to try and get into the habit of having a weekly series back up as well, just because I do feel like I don't want to demean it. You know, I think it's like, I like spending more time on stuff, and I like producing more detailed and more kind of ambitious projects. Not always to the degree that are silly, but I do like doing that. But at the same time, I do appreciate there are people who back me who just actually want a bit more stuff. And yeah, it's kind of difficult to do both, but I'll see how I get on. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on that, because I'm particularly loath to change this element in particular. Because it's something that was just agreed upon, you know. It's everything else is a bit more in flux, and I guess that's why sometimes it does kind of end up being that you almost always get an update video, but you might not get like a really good video every week because it's something that's quick and easy to make. Well, comparatively, it takes about an hour in total. But then the problem is with other things, there are so many moving parts, it doesn't quite work. Like, you know, I'll need to re-record some more VO, keep editing stuff, and it's not as easy to just bash stuff out on the other front. And I wouldn't want to, because, you know, what's the point? What's the point in spending days and days and days playing a game and then put out a video about it that's just a bit subpar? I don't know. Anyway, that's something to think about, And I've got plenty of time to think about that stuff myself. In last week's video update, there wasn't really that many questions, to be honest, so I'm going to just go through the ones that I was doing before. Because most people last time were just talking about the comment section and just basically commenting on it and talking about the decision to remove them, which most people seem to understand, which is good. Right. Anyway, Conan Hutchins, asks, he talks about how he's been playing Divinity Original Sin and about the fact that there aren't RPG markers and all that stuff. Do you think games trying too hard to make them accessible for everyone end up losing an element that makes them fun? Yes, that's pretty much exactly a point that I made in my video about Divinity Original Sin, which if you haven't seen already, you'll probably enjoy. So I'm not going to answer that question, just go and watch that video, because it's a fun video, and it's got John Blythe in it being an amazing gormless person, and other stuff. Kirill Nicotine says, hi Matt, you've said that you use Fraps for capturing. I wish I didn't, it is shit. What other software do you use whilst producing a video? Premiere/Vegas. I use Premiere and After Effects. I use the Creative Suite. I've got the whole thing because it's actually quite reasonable these days to just rent it off Adobe. He says a little rumble on the production cycle would be much appreciated. To be honest, mainly it's just Premiere. I use Premiere to edit. I use Audition to deal with sound. And I do use After Effects, but I don't use After Effects much. I use After Effects for a bit of flair every now and then, like text stuff is good. Like when I do the is it good things, when it comes up the blah, 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 that's After Effects, because After Effects has loads of cool pre-built-in stuff for text that just makes stuff look swish. And I do use After Effects for some things, but it's quite rare. Occasionally it's useful for like tracking. And it used to be that I needed to use it for anything that wanted a soft edge. Feathering is what it's called. It's like basically if you want a video and you want like a soft focus around the edge of it, it can be quite hard to do that in Premiere. Well, it was, but the new version just adds feathering, so you can create masks. Masks basically are just like scissors, just like cut this bit out in this exact shape. And whilst you can crop videos in Premiere in the past, you can go like, you couldn't crop it in an interesting way. So you couldn't crop at an angle or crop in a circle and all this stuff without doing some really daft things. It was possible, but it was like, because then you could use garbage mats. Sorry, this is getting super technical. You could use garbage mats to make shapes, but then it was quite hard to then soften just the edges of things. You could entirely blur something. Or you could blur the edges, but it would blur the edges that existed, not the edges of the mat. This is the technical stuff that starts to drive people insane with video editing. But yeah, my process for editing is quite simple, really. Oh, my phone is ringing. It's my girlfriend probably wanting to talk about holidays. I'll reply this in a minute. Yeah, that was some hot passport chat. Being an adult is so exciting. Yeah, the production cycle. One of the things I would recommend actually is you can, if you do use Premiere, you can change the shortcuts on the keyboard to make it a lot easier. I tend to make it so deleting a clip is Q to just E. It's almost actually like, it's basically like, I've played a lot of Dota. It's like playing Dota, but for video. It's I make it so it's like, if I press Q, it's like Q, W, E, R. If I press Q, it cuts down the line. If I press W, it cuts the video back to the last edit. If I press R, it cuts the video to the next edit. And if I press E, it just deletes the selected clip. So it means, I found that particularly useful actually when I was doing Game of Thrones Abridged, because it was just like a case of just having to get through vast quantities of footage and just going, and just immediately, like really quickly, just chunking it up into tiny bits without having to do anything really, just dragging along the timeline and just pressing single keys. It's obviously it's a dangerous way to play it, you know, because if you press things by accident, you can quite easily delete vast amounts of your own stuff. And if you don't notice you've done that until later, you can't undo it. That's happened. That's happened to people. But yeah, that's the way I kind of tend to play it. I tend to play it pretty fast and loose. And that's like, I do put a lot of care into my work, but occasionally there are mistakes. Like there was a mistake in the Dark Souls 2 video. Nothing fatal. If there's ever a mistake which is like actually ruins the video in any way, I go back and I re-upload. But in that case, it was just missing a background at one point. Because the thing is, when you've got an insane edit like that with everything moving around, like things can so easily just move slightly out of sync. I got to admit, my workflow in Premiere, for those of you who use it, is pretty sloppy. Like I should nest stuff more often. I should like actually have a bit more of a kind of neat workflow. Whereas I tend to just be like, chuck everything in. Like it just like, because my videos tend to be one-offs, it means I just literally just chuck everything I need into one big bucket and then grab it all. And I see other people work and they put everything into folders. Like here's the audio, here's the art, here's this. And I'm just like, I'm such a messy worker. But I guess what I like about that with video that you don't get in real life with my desk, which is equally insanely messy, is that after you finish the project, you can just close it and it's like having a drawer. You just go, I'm just going to close this drawer, and chances are you'll never open that drawer ever again. In fact, you're likely to just delete that drawer before you have to open it, which is just wonderful. It is just the nice thing of being like, I'm finished, poof, and just being able to leave without cleaning, which is basically just, it's my dream. It's just like, if everything in the world could be like that, I'd love that. Just you finish your job and then that's it. You don't have to wash the pans. You don't have to clean your desk. Amazing. I love it. But yeah, I work in a weird way with Premiere and After Effects because I've never actually been formally taught. I've just taught myself. So I'm always learning things. Every now and then I discover something new and I'm just like, oh man, that's going to change everything. But largely I just sort of higgledy-piggledy, just chuck it all together, which is all right. It's difficult in the same way I obviously did a little bit where I went into a bit more depth about how I process audio. That's different because it's actually like, it's quite a simple process. It is a process. Whereas this, yeah, it's a bit more difficult. If anyone has specific questions about things in editing though, then I'll happily answer. But yeah, it's difficult because it's like I do so many things in it that I don't know where to start with that. I can't really show you anything. But yeah, always open to really specific editing questions. I'm now getting the fear that I'm answering questions twice, which might be happening. I don't know. I may have had these before. Benjamin Doherty asks, and I'm sure somebody's asked me this before, I'm sure, would you ever think about designing a board game? And the answer to that is, yeah, probably. I love games. I don't think I want to design a board game until I've played more board games, because I'm still being amazed and surprised by some of the really cool mechanics within board games and some of the really cool ideas and ways that things work. So I definitely would want a few more years of playing board games before I even started to think about designing one, just so I could know exactly what I wanted it to be and actually make something that was worthwhile rather than just, trite. But I've got a bug at the moment. I don't know why, it's been growing for a little while, but I do kind of want to play around with trying to make a little game. When I was younger, I used to have a program called Game Maker, right? And it was crap. No, not Game Maker. Game Maker is the program. Sorry. It was called The Game Factory. And I think this was a kind of a set of tools that was repackaged with a bunch of different names over a period of a few years. But when I bought it, it was called the Game Factory, and it was a CD-ROM in a white case with blue text. And I loved it because it basically allowed you to make little games by doing really simple programming, and you could do quite advanced stuff in it if you were smart. But I wasn't smart. But I did end up making like a couple of really small projects. And as with proper game design, I think I spent a lot of time making things that I had big ambitions for, but then ended up just not making it. That ended up being like, start off and I spent ages animating a man and making him jump, and then got bored of it and just walked off to do something else. But I don't know, like I see a lot of people playing around with Game Maker and trying to make little mini games and stuff, and I'm just interested in it. I like learning how to do things, and that's one of the reasons I like video editing, is I like learning how to make stuff, learning how to do cool things. But there is a part of me that really wants to have a play around with it. So that might be, I don't know, I might, if I feel like I've got some more free time in the future, I might actually try and make that my hobby for a little bit, my evening hobby, to just try and see if I can make something. Don't know, maybe something crap. It wouldn't even be like a product. I'd just like to play around with it, because there was something really satisfying about just toying around with things and making things work and making things move and having ideas. And I kind of feel like when I was a kid, I used to have a lot of fun with it as a toy box, but now, having so much more real life experience about how to structure things and understand the flow of things and how to find elegant solutions to difficult problems. I dread to think the amount of time I used to spend as a kid in the Game Factory, like making ridiculous systems to make something work, when actually now I'd probably be like, why are you doing that? You could just make it work like this. I'd be interested in playing around with it, because I do think I spend so much time just now. It's odd, because when I started working as a games kind of critic or whatever, I was always working for publications. So when I was working for OXM, I would review games for OXM readers, and that's a very specific type of people. You can't just I think people don't get that sometimes, where like publication reviews are made for that publication's readers, right? That's a really vital thing that a lot of people forget, is you can't just be like, well, it's not always just about exactly what you think. You've got to be subjective. Of course, you do inject what you think about it, but it's what you think about it in relation to the audience. So it's about meeting people halfway. But there's less of that these days, because I don't work for a publication, because I don't work for a publication with a preset view on how things are. I don't have to do that as much, and it means I tend to end up, rather than reviewing games on the basis of being like, this game's good, you'd like it, I think you'd like to play it, if you like this game, you'd like it. It means I actually spend more time just dissecting how they work and looking at them and trying to appreciate what things about them that make them work well and things about them don't. And it does get a bit more like scientific. And I guess that is, again, in a way, it's kind of a reversed engineered system. Whereas in the past, when I wrote for Xbox Magazine, I was writing for a pre-existing audience. Whereas I guess now the nature of my work has defined the audience that I've got. So it's sort of fine to just continue doing that. But I do think that my increasing interest in how things work and understanding why things are done, and I think it will reach a certain point, I think, where my curiosity will just hit a wall, hit like peak, and I'll have to just be like, I'm going to try and make something, just to get a basic understanding of like just anything. I don't know. It does fascinate me, and I'd like to give it a go sometime, but we'll see. I'm also aware that it's like a massive undertaking of time, and so I wouldn't take it on as anything other than just a tinkering hobby, just to see what I can do with it. I don't know, there might be some cool interactive basic stuff I could do with it. We'll see. Anyway, Matthew Arnott, odd question. He says, how do I manage at a festival with my hair? He says it's too hot all the time. It's all right. It's one of the reasons I like this haircut, to be honest, actually, is I like having long hair. I get so much grief for this haircut, and I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand it. How can people be angry by a haircut? Like, how can you be that fucking boring that haircuts make you angry? There are so many things that are actually worth getting annoyed about. Haircuts. Fucking get a life. But the reason I like it is because I like having lots of hair, because I kind of like the feeling of doing this. Anyone who's got long hair will probably appreciate this. And you probably noticed me doing it in the videos, in these videos and other videos. I don't do this because I'm worried about what my hair looks like. I do this because I like I like the feeling of it. It feels really nice. I like running my fingers through my own hair. Is that a crime? Is that a crime? You tell me. If it is a crime, I'm sorry. Please don't tell anyone. But oh god, it's gone mental. But no, I like doing it. I like running my fingers through long hair. It's my long, thick hair. It's very nice. But as you say, it does get uncontrollable and it does get really annoying and it feels really hot and dirty and heavy and bollocks and it takes forever to dry when it's wet and all this stuff. So it's why it's awesome having a haircut like this, is because it means I still get, it's like the best of both worlds. It's like I get a bit of like long, thick hair that I can play with, but I also get basically a normal, quite short haircut the rest of the time. So it doesn't ever feel like I've got too much hair. It doesn't ever feel like too hot. It means it's actually quite lightweight. If anything, actually, it's getting a bit long on these sides. I want to get it cut again. Because everyone's all like, oh, you got a really extreme haircut. And some people are really, like, as I say, some people get really offended by these things. But it's nice. It means I can have long hair and yet also have quite a cool head. My head doesn't get too hot. It's logistical. It's a pragmatic haircut. It's not about fashion. It's about, well, it might have been originally, but it's not anymore. Now it's just like, I like it. It ticks all of my boxes. It lets me have my cake and eat it. And if you can have your cake and eat it, then fucking do. That's the trick of life. And yeah, I think that's about it. I think I had a couple of tiny questions at the end of last one. Let me have a quick look. We can have a couple. Yeah, Barak Ragran. Sorry if I said your name wrong. He says, someone threw out on the recent Fear the Boot podcast, which I've not heard of, I'm afraid, threw out the idea of an XCOM tabletop RPG. Do you think that'd be a good idea? And he says, I saw people tweeting at you like mad about the upcoming board game. Thank you to everybody who tweeted me about the XCOM board game. So many people. Like, I guess it's like I am in the middle of that Venn diagram. Board game fans, XCOM fans. Like, I am white hot in the center of that Venn diagram. So yeah, no, I yeah, why not? I mean, I don't know if an XCOM tabletop RPG would be that good, because the XCOM, in terms of the plot, it's kind of bollocks, isn't it? Like XCOM, doesn't really make any sense. Like, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, I mean, come on, I love it, but in terms of its story, the story is fun because it's a single story about you being the commander. I don't think being characters within that realm would be as interesting because, I mean, it's kind of dumb. Like, yeah, like aliens attacking. What do we do? Let's spend billions on 12 guys from around the world, all of whom can barely shoot anything with rifles. Like, they can't aim. Like, the very minimum I want of soldiers is soldiers who can aim weapons. I mean, sure, when you've got like laser rifles and plasma rifles and all this experimental shit, if then they're a bit like, oh, sorry, I missed. Come on, you've just given me this rifle. I've never fucking used it before in my life. What do you expect? Then that would make sense. But when it's like, if they can't shoot with these assault rifles, well, who are these people? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It would actually be really fun to do a spoof about that at some point, do a little sketch. I might do that. I might have to assemble a team of people and do an XCOM sketch. We'll see. Maybe it'd be a good thing to do at the point at which, I don't know, at the point at which they hopefully will announce a sequel. Oh, they might announce a sequel to XCOM at Gamescom. If they do, I'm not going to be at Gamescom. I'm actually going to be at Gen Con doing the shut up and sit down stuff at that time. So if they do, I won't be able to cover it initially, but that's fine because, yeah, I'll do something about it in the future. It is all good. Yeah, like I say, most of the comments last week on the video, or week before actually, were not really actually talking about, they're not questions. It was mostly people kind of following up with what I talked about with criticism and negativity and having to deal with this. Honestly, I feel so much better now. We've got this Reddit up and running. There is a degree of like, people getting used to it and stuff, and there is a degree of like, we'll see how it goes. With mods have been very kind at the moment and being like, is this okay? Should we be deleting this? Should we be leaving this? And it's difficult because I think there has to be a degree of me not being... I have to be involved because I have to feel like the rules that I want to uphold are being upheld in terms of no being a bigot, basically. No being a bigot or being an arsehole. But at the same time, I do kind of want to be a bit distant from it because I don't want people to ever feel like they should be removing stuff just because it's very critical of anything I do. But that's fine. And it's nice. And actually, what's really nice about this, I'll end on this actually, and I apologise if I've missed any questions because it's quite hard to find them here. But one of the things I think is really nice about the subreddit that we've got, because I'm not too fond of Reddit as a big site, but the subreddit is its own beast. It's its own little bubble community. And community, that is the one thing that actually I'm quite excited about. And I wasn't 100% sure when I was switching off the comments. I was 100% sure it was the thing that I needed to do, but I wasn't 100% sure about whether or not it was a good thing to do. It felt like it was definitely the right thing to do, but maybe not necessarily good. And I was worried that because we did have actually quite a nice community of people on YouTube and the commenters, including yourselves, and really nice bunch. And it was basically just a very small percentage of occasional people who wandered in and said horribly racist or sexist things. And we had to basically, we had to burn down the house to get rid of them. Mainly because YouTube doesn't allow, if YouTube had the option to actually have moderators on your channel, if I could allow other people to moderate comments on my YouTube channel, then that would have been the solution. That would have been fine. But I couldn't because YouTube is a bit backwards. But yeah, what I would say is I was worried about that. But actually I've realized in subreddit, it's really nice to see people somebody started an introductions thread and people are just saying hello to each other. Somebody started up a thread for people who want to share their like Xbox Live and PSN tags so people can play with each other. And it's like, yeah, I kind of realized that whilst YouTube comments were really great for having a ton of people, giving people the opportunity to like just constantly talk and constantly be there and creating what's felt like a community, it kind of in a way wasn't. In a way, like, I feel like for as long as you do have this open door policy where people can just wander in and be arseholes without anyone really doing anything about it a lot of the time, or it was kind of getting in the way of that. And it's nice to see that now we've just added that one step. So if people want to be arseholes, they still can, but they just have to do one extra click. And most of the time, people can't be bothered. It has allowed for conversations and dialogue that is just a bit more worthwhile and people actually putting a bit more thought into what they say. And also it's just created a space. It's created a different space where we've actually created a place where people, they don't necessarily have to be talking exactly about my videos and stuff. And I'm happy for that. I think relevance is important and we don't want to double up on threads and stuff. Otherwise the whole place just becomes impossible to use. But it's nice to see people talking about stuff in that arena, which is not just saying, I like this video, I don't like this video, I agree with this video, this bit made me laugh, but actually having people who are like-minded people who enjoy my work, actually being able to have a place where they can discuss my work, but also just chat to each other about stuff and chat to each other about ideas in the videos or in Daft Souls, and also just maybe, make some mates and play some games online. I think that's really cool. And it's almost like it's early days, and I've no doubt that there will be, there's always, there's no perfect solution to anything. There are problems with everything. But it's early days, but it's nice. And I kind of feel like this is kind of cool. Like we've got a little community here. This could be something really awesome. And I think that whilst YouTube allows you to have a conversation with tons of people going on because it's so easy to post comments and it's so, so accessible, I think there's... In another regard, I think it's nice because it's like, it kind of felt like, I think what we'll see in a month or two, hopefully, will be that whilst it felt like we had a nice YouTube community in terms of the comments, the community we will have on the subreddit will be better. And I think actually we will end up looking back on it and being like, you know what, that was really good. Good things have come out on that. So yeah, I'm really positive about that. I'm really hopeful about that. And really, as I said earlier, I'm just really apologetic that I haven't really done that much stuff lately because I've been ill. I shouldn't apologize for that. How fucking dumb is that? But I guess, it's perception, and I think it's difficult. If people look at things and they go, you've only made this many videos this month, I'm not happy with that, then yeah, it does boil down to the same thing. If you really need to just make your own call on it, really. And it's all very well, and I did accept that people, did post some criticism about it and stuff and saying, you're not exactly doing the sort of things I thought you'd be doing. You're not doing as much of this. I would have liked more of this. And it's like, I always am completely willing to take all that stuff on board. But I can't always say I'll be able to adequately react to it, really. Because the problem is if one person says, I want you to do more of this, and I run off to do more of that, then there's just going to be somebody else on the other side who says, oh, why have you stopped doing this? And, all I can really ever do is just remain my own compass on this. And just keep making the sort of stuff at the sort of pace that I feel is the best I can do, while still doing what I want to do. Yeah. You know, I think that's fine. But if you're not happy with that, then yeah, feel free to let me know. And I'm not saying shut up and get lost. Feel free to let me know. But honestly, there's only so much I can do to really kind of adapt what I do to suit the needs of people, especially individuals. So yeah, I would say, like, I'd much rather people meandered. I'd much rather people, rather than feeling that they have to support me for a long stretch, but then thinking, God, he hasn't been doing anything I like for about 2 months, but I guess I'll keep paying him every month in the hope that he does something I really like in 3 months. You know, just it's not a good way. It's not good for anyone, really, because at least then, you know, at least then I can react to it as needs be. You know, because the whole thing that I like about this Patreon system is that it's reflective of the work I do, and it must be coming up to about 6 months of doing it now. So I think, apologies for talking about this sort of thing, because it does feel a bit self-indulgent. But I think, you know, we've got to a point where every now and then it's good to stop and think about these things and talk about these things, because, you know, it's otherwise it just doesn't ever get done, you know, post-mortem, because this stuff is all very new and there are no case studies about how it all works. But yeah, I think that's the only way things that will ever change, really. I think if it got to a point where I really did start to lose a lot of people, patrons, then yeah, I'd absolutely need to start thinking about things. And I think that's, in a way, that's a good thing, because that's the way it should work. That's the whole point of it. Is it's a meritocracy in its purest form. Like, if you really don't like what I'm doing anymore, or you really don't agree with me, then please do stop funding me, because then it's up to me. You know, it's in my hands. If I choose that I'm happy with that, and I'd rather just continue focusing on a much smaller audience for less money, then that's fine. I can do that. But if I feel like perhaps I've lost sight of what I'm doing, and I've lost sight of the content I'm producing, and I'm not doing things the way I should be anymore, then I can adapt accordingly. I can be like, oh, well, you know, people aren't happy with my work, so I need to either accept that and accept that my work has changed, which I don't think it has dramatically, or I need to raise my game. I need to win people back. I need to raise my game, and I think that's reasonable. So yeah. So it's an odd note to end the video on, but if you do feel like you're really not happy with it, then please do. Like, honestly, I won't begrudge you that. You know, that's fine. That's kind of the way it's supposed to work. Anyway, weirdly, I don't think that's not a negative. That's not negative at all. That's just, I think that's just something that's worth saying every now and a while, because yeah, it's the way it is. Anyway, there won't be any videos from me for about 10 whole days now. Well, longer than that, because I'm not going to bloody do one immediately when I get back, am I? Oh, almost 2 weeks. I do hope you will survive without me, though, and you'll have some nice stuff coming when I'm back, and it'll be good. But yeah, I'm off to have a brief holiday and to do some work with some nutters in Indianapolis. So yeah, if you want to see more of me in the meantime, then do keep an eye out and Sharp Sit Down. And Daft Souls actually will be up in some form, although it may not be up on YouTube. Bear that in mind. It might just be on SoundCloud. So if you don't subscribe to it on RSS or whatever, then do. But otherwise, keep an eye on SoundCloud, because I don't think I'm going to have the ability to make YouTube videos on the fly. Oh, sorry, I've been babbling for far too long. Thank you very much for listening, as ever. And again, what have I bloody... No, it's a bit shorter than usual, but I'm still shit at doing this short stuff. Goodbye. No, I say it properly. Bye!